Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails. He who has vowed if he were reelected he'd be a dictator on day one. Who will weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, and who has called for the, quote, termination of the Constitution of the United States of America. And let us be clear. Someone who suggests we should terminate the Constitution of the United States should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America. Never again.
You just saw Kamala Harris in Arizona lying and yelling. She said that Donald Trump wants to be a dictator on day one, and that he wants to terminate the Constitution. And then she started yelling about how this man can never stand in front of, or I think she said in back of, the presidential seal ever again. Well, I have news for you, Kamala Harris. The voters decide that. You don't. You're acting like a dictator. You are a dictator. You want to censor everybody. You want to raise taxes. You know you don't belong in this position. You know you're an imposter, and you're acting like one. Which begs the question, and is today's topic, what kind of man likes Kamala Harris? Well, the kind of man has to be passive, a doormat, a wimp, a eunuch. Because no strong man is going to take this kind of abuse from a woman. But there are men out there who do. Let's take her husband, for example. You may have seen this before, but he regales us with the moment he learned that Joe Biden had dropped out of the race and had anointed his wife, Kamala Harris.
She couldn't communicate with you immediately to tell you that Joe Biden had stepped down, correct? You were busy in spin class, right?
That was right. So it was, I was in LA. It was during that weekend when all the planes were down because of the software glitch. So I had to spend an extra day in LA. I decided to go to a cycling class with some friends, and it was an hour class, and we were just chit-chatting. I had my phone in the Secret Service car, so I didn't have my phone. And then my friend's partner just showed me his phone with the letter from President Biden, and I'm like, gotta go, and just ran into the car, and there was my phone, literally, like, you could feel the steam, 7 or 8 messages, all with, where are you? Call Kamala. And it was a 1 minute or less conversation, which started with, where the F were you? I need you right now. And basically get to work. And I did.
Now you notice how passive he is. Kamala left messages for him. And when he called her back, because he got back to his limousine, she said, where the fuck have you been? Get to work. I need you. What kind of a way is that to talk to your husband? What kind of man would take that? Get to work. Let me remind you that Doug Emhoff is a guy who ruined his first marriage by cheating on his wife, by banging the nanny and impregnating her. And then sometime right before he met Kamala Harris, he was with a girlfriend at the Cannes Film Festival in France. And allegedly she put her hand on the valet's shoulder because she was waiting in the valet line. Doug saw this. He slapped her across the face so hard she spun around, was horrified, jumped in a cab and got the hell out of there and never saw him again. That's the kind of guy Doug is. There are a lot of articles, especially on Daily Mail, about what kind of dirtbag this guy is. But around Kamala Harris, he's a doormat. He's a wimp. What kind of man would she choose to be her vice presidential running mate? Well, we know what kind. a self-proclaimed knucklehead.
You said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times.
Not a very impressive guy, is he? But when a woman behaves in a certain way, she attracts a certain kind of man, and vice versa. Finally, Kamala put this video on X. Don't forget, she approved this. Targeting black men, and she's losing a lot of black men because they can't stand her. She's condescending. She patronizes them. She panders to them and ultimately insults them.
Hello, ladies. I'm Trey. It's good to be here.
Hey, Trey.
Hey, hey.
So, what do you do and how much do you make?
I work in finance, making six figures.
How tall are you?
6'5".
Okay. Do you work out?
I like to stay active, yeah.
Do you have a plan to vote?
I didn't plan on it.
Again, Trey just made my point. He's a doormat. He's a wimp. When a woman asks a man, how much do you earn? This is called a gold digger, or as I fondly call them, merchant marines. That's M-A-U-R-E-E-N, merchant marines. When a woman asks a man how much he makes, he should tell her to fuck off. He should walk away from her. But Trey didn't. He answered the question. And then they all basically said, if you don't vote for Kamala Harris, you're not getting laid. Again, this goes to the theme of what Kamala thinks of men, and therefore the kind of men who like her. Sidebar. When I moved to the Bay Area, where I lived for 21 years until Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom destroyed the place, I went to a black and white ball for singles in San Francisco. I was standing alone drinking an adult beverage when this really hot babe sidled up to me. She introduced herself, asked me where I worked and what I did. I told her I worked for a software company, gave her the name of it, and told her I was VP of marketing. She then asked me, because she was husband shopping, how much do you make? I said, really? Would you like my social security number too? Hit the road. And then I walked away from her. That's the way a real man behaves around that kind of woman. Trey, on the other hand, bowed down to her. That's not the way a real man behaves. So if you know men who are going to vote for Kamala Harris, I guarantee you they're either mama's boys or they have domineering wives or girlfriends. Because no man with a woman who's going to vote for Kamala Harris has the balls to say to her, I'm voting for Trump, because she's going to leave him, and if she's married to him, she's going to take half his stuff. Think about that. This is Marc Rudov. Until next time.